morning to all my Muay Thai rascals out there, and happy 2017. Welcome to our second episode of the CombatReel podcast. If you don't know, CombatReel covers everything in the world of Muay Thai and kickboxing. So if you love Muay Thai, if you love kickboxing, if you want to support your local fighters, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm so excited. We've got a bunch of cool shit coming up over the next few weeks. Next week, we're going to be at No Boundary fights in Melrose, Mass. No Boundary is the only sanctioned Muay Thai promotion in Massachusetts. They have a sick card schedule for January 14th at the Melrose Memorial Hall. If you see me there, make sure to come up to me and say what's up. Then at the end of the month, our boy George Pistakis is going to be covering the USKAs out in PA. And then the week after that, I'm flying out to Vegas to cover Lion Fight 34. So I'm in Muay Thai heaven. Can't wait. On today's show, I'm going to be talking to a cool dude. Not only is he a dad, but he's a beast of a fighter, David Maccabee Hayrikyan. As I mentioned on the last show, Dave is going to be fighting Phil DaSilva at No Boundary next week for the 145-pound title. Phil's a beast. Dave's a beast. They're both cool guys. It's going to be a sick fight. So make sure to hit Dave up, hit Phil up, and get yourself some tickets. So without further ado, let's get started. Hey David, how are you? This is Alfredo from CombatReel.
How you doing, Alfredo?
Good, man. How's everything going?
Going well.
Great. How was your holiday?
It was good, not long enough, but got a lot of family around, so that's always a high point, you know.
Yeah, no, that's all you can ask for, right? You're a recent dad, right?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, that's awesome. So you have a little girl?
I have one little girl, and another one on the way.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome. Another little girl, or do you not know yet?
I think I find out in like a week and a half.
Oh, man. As a father of two girls, I'm going to tell you right now, nothing better. They're all about daddy.
Yeah. That's what I feel like right now when I walk through the door.
Oh, yeah.
No one's as happy as that to see me, you know?
Oh, yeah. No one ever will be that happy to see you. It's awesome having... I always thought that I wanted to have all boys. Because I grew up all boys, and forget about it. I would never go back. I love having girls. So
really, yeah. See, I'm hoping to have a few more. I'd love to have the boys and the girls mixed together. But who knows? Who knows what life will give me? I'll take whatever I can get. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Going well, so I'm not going to complain.
Awesome. So you're getting ready to fight Phil DaSilva, and this is going to be for the No Boundary 145 title. Has it been tough?
Right.
Has it been tough getting ready over the holidays?
Well, it's tough getting ready no matter what, you know. I mean, that's the hardest part of the fight is the training, always, right? If it's not, then I feel like I'm doing it wrong. So, so far it hasn't been that different, it being a holiday or not, except for the fact that I've had more days off, which means more days off of work. Which means I have more time to train. So I wouldn't say it's been any more difficult than it normally is.
Oh, yeah, so that's something I didn't think about. That's a good point, right? So, you could probably get into the gym more than you would maybe, the fight was another time of the year.
Yeah, that's true. The training partners, or like the amount of bodies in the gym is a little lower, but we've got the few committed people that I sort of need to get my work in, and they were still around. So, bounced around a little bit. I went to go see my coach up in New Hampshire a couple times, and I have a friend down here who's helping me get ready, who runs Rajasi Muay Thai, Xavier Ramos, so I trained with him. And yeah, so I found the people that I needed, even though the city was a little bit quieter than normal.
Yeah, that's all you need. You just need that core group of people that are gonna, push you.
Absolutely.
So you know Phil, right? You and Phil have met before.
We actually just met at a smoker at Redline. What was that, like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, he's a super nice guy. Does that make it tougher to fight a guy when he's or is that not even part of the equation?
It's not even part of it. And, my experience in Muay Thai I think I've been pretty spoiled. I think I've only ever had, I actually can't think of a single opponent I've ever had that wasn't an amiable and, decent person before and after the fight. I mean, that can't be said about the crowd necessarily or family members, but I don't know. It's something about the community. We all know that we're only there for one thing. There's no emotion and there's no like personal feelings for me and none for him, and it doesn't hurt at all. It makes it better. You know, it's like I look forward to like talking to him after the fight and hopefully becoming friends with him after the fight. Even if we're not the type of friends that talk all the time, most of the people that I fought that I've had real wars with, you know, after the fact, it's like you see the person, it's like seeing a brother, like you've been through something together.
Right.
So I don't know. I look forward to that. And him being such a nice guy is a good thing.
That's absolutely awesome to hear. I love that. So, you know, I want to talk a little bit about the fight. So, you know, Phil's a tough opponent. He's got a lot of experience. He comes in with over 20 fights. You have a fair amount of experience yourself, but I think one of the big advantages that I think you have, and you know, you never know how a fight's going to go down, but one of the advantages I think you have is that, you know, you're the taller, rangier fighter. So is the game plan to try to exploit your reach and keep him sort of, you know, at a distance, pick your shots, or are you looking to come out aggressive, or is it a completely different game plan altogether?
Well, I always try to keep the pace high in all of my fights. I have a lot of confidence in my cardio, which hopefully doesn't ever backfire on me. Now that I said that, I'm looking for a piece of wood to knock on. But and I also really enjoy clinching. Not only do I enjoy it, but if I ever feel threatened by anything another fighter's doing, I can usually get into my own there. So yeah, obviously the range is something that we're keeping in consideration all the time, and knowing that Phil's going to be a dangerous opponent even at length. You know, even at long range fighters, you can trip them up, you can pull them in, and get them to stumble forward if you deflect their shots correctly. So I'm aware that, you know, my range isn't going to be the one thing that saves me. So it's sort of mixing up a few different things that I'm hoping I can work with, things that I've experienced that work to my benefit, and some things that I'm, you know, altering slightly in consideration of Phil's style and Phil's size.
Awesome. So have you been watching any of his videos, or have you seen any of his fights in the past?
Yeah, there's a couple that I've seen, a couple of his videos that I've seen, but there isn't a ton of information out there, which is, you know, most fighters on our level try not to be extremely public with our fight videos because we know people are studying them. So I haven't had the opportunity to study a whole ton, but there are a few that I found, and I'm sure he's found a few of me, and I'm sure that whatever flaws we see and whatever talents we see, we're both going to have as well accounted for as possible before we get in there. You know what I mean? We're probably going to know each other a little better than we know ourselves, at least from, you know, the analysis of those videos.
So I love that because, you know, I spoke to Phil last week, and you know, I love the cerebral aspect of the game, guys that sort of study each other. And I get the sense that both of you guys are, you know, you have some fighters that don't like to look at any video, don't care how the other guy fights. They're just focused on just, you know, getting themselves ready, and that's it. But I always find it more interesting when the guys actually study each other and see whether they can actually implement their game plan. So it looks like this might be one of those fights.
Absolutely. And I'd say maybe it's something that my coach, Mark Clem, has always done with us, but we study hard, you know, because there's fighters that I fought that should have beaten me if we both went in blind, but I just knew more about them than they knew about me. And I won because of that. I didn't win because I was necessarily, you know, the better blind fighter. It was the strategy of, you know, okay, I know that this guy's, you know, nasty at kicks, and so I don't want to get into a kick war with him, for example. You know, it's like that type of thing, like
right.
The studying. And it's fun too, right? It's like,
yeah,
I guess learning a strategy for the chess game.
That's a ton of fun. I mean, that's why people watch Lawrence Kenshin's fight breakdowns. That's why, you know, that's I think everybody likes to geek out on fighting. Because we all love the strategy part of it, right? There's something about you know, figuring out your opponent, because everyone's different. You know, it doesn't matter how good you are. There's always someone who's going to have a style that's going to give you problems. So it's great to see when fighters can sort of figure out ways to get around, you know, their limitations.
Right.
You know,
I agree.
So you're going to be fighting for the title, which is pretty exciting. Is this going to be your first title?
No, I've got a few at some smaller events, and I've got one at Friday Night Fights from years ago, from 4 years ago. I never actually had to defend it. I never defended it. I think it probably got passed along after. So I've had 4 belts since I started fighting. But I guess this one's kind of cool because it's in Massachusetts, recently sanctioned. That makes it something a little different. And then, you know, a lot of the locals that haven't necessarily been able to make it out to Vermont or New York City are going to be there for it. So it's a special fight. The belt is an added bonus.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely is a special fight. It took forever for one reason or another to get sanctioned Muay Thai to Mass, and especially that close to Boston. So, it's fantastic that you guys don't have to travel like usual, come all the way down to New York to fight, and you can hopefully have more of a crowd there to cheer you on. Have your family actually come out and actually see you do your thing.
Yeah, I almost convinced my mom to come out for the first time ever. She's never wanted to come see me fight. She doesn't like violence really, but I'm like, now I'm like, Mom, it's in Melrose. Come on, it's a 20-minute drive. You got to see this. I put so much effort in. This is why I don't eat. This is why I'm grumpy. Come see this. So hopefully,
is she going?
Hopefully, I think so. I think I might have her convinced.
That's awesome.
We'll see.
That's fantastic. It's always the moms. Always the moms that don't want to go. I think almost across the board, right? The dads go, brothers will go, sisters will go, but there's just something about the moms. They just,
My sisters have always been super supportive. My mom has always just sort of, made sure I was all right at the end of the fight. Has me make sure you call me when the fight's over. And that's about it.
Well, you know how it is. I mean, you're a dad now, right? You have a little girl. You can sort of see where your mom's coming from.
Yeah, I guess it's just I know people do a lot more dangerous things than Muay Thai.
That's for sure.
And that's something that, like, as terrifying as Muay Thai is, and I do still consider it terrifying. I think fighting is like really nerve-wracking, and it's part of why I do it, because I like to be out of my comfort zone. But when I think about people that are doing, like, I don't know, downhill skiing, like intense downhill skiing, like, you hit a tree going 60, you're out, you're done. But in Muay Thai, I mean, the threat is much more. You still have moments where things can go really wrong. But I've seen the worst I've seen is a broken bone. A hard knockouts I've seen, of course, people that didn't get up for a while. And you hear about some scary shit that happens every once in a while. But generally speaking, I mean, the sport is exciting and relatively safe. It's not motocross. It's not dirt bikes going 60 feet in the air,
Right.
So when I think about if my daughter was to get into a sport, I'd have no problem with her getting into Muay Thai. I just want her to avoid headshots until she's
the right age. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I have two, 8 and 5, and they, I have them training. So it's I'm with you. But you sort of brought up something that was pretty interesting. So you talked about fear. I always find that very interesting, sort of talking about how guys react to fights. Some guys are very calm. Other guys, you could tell, are nervous, and then that sort of maybe fades away once the first few shots are exchanged. How are you before a fight? I mean, like, immediately before a fight.
Lost. I mean, I can't even describe it. It's not. I guess it's like focusing. I find something to focus on. Usually my breathing, making sure my body's warm. I'm very focused on like those things, and so emotion-wise, I get like nerves. My nerves usually aren't affecting me nearly as much. After weigh-ins, I'm usually a much calmer. But lost is sort of the way I describe it, because I'm trying not to think too much about, this calm before the storm feeling. I try to sort of put that out of my head. And I'm always scared of my opponents. It's part of like how I fight, I guess. It's how I train. I train out of, there's no way they can be training harder than me. If they are, I'm gonna lose, and that's like always in my head. So once I get to the fight, it's really just like, going through the motions, breathing, stretching out your lungs, staying warm, making sure you don't get cold, making sure you're just a little bit hydrated and fed, but not making sure you're like hungry, but not starving. You know what I mean? All these little details that come into planning your body's optimization, I guess. And so lost emotionally, but focused physically.
That's so interesting, right? You describe it very similar to sort of the way Mike Tyson described his feelings about fighting early on in his career, right? He always said that he was always petrified, which is part of the reason he would get up at 4 in the morning to go run,
That's a good person to say they're petrified too, because I think I remember seeing that video way back in the day, and maybe I stole that mantra, because it's if you're Mike Tyson and you can embrace it, like, shit, of course I'm gonna win. Of course, if I'm not scared, I'm crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And I think was that the line from the shot too. I forget what it is. I gotta watch that again. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, she's probably not the only person who said it too. If you're about to fight somebody and you're not nervous, you're wild. I don't want to get in the ring with you.
You know, I think there's some people that are nervous but don't want to admit it, or they sort of let their nerves out a different way.
Yeah,
But you know, I always found Mike Tyson interesting because, you know, there's an irony in the guy that at the time was the scariest guy in boxing being scared before every fight. You know, so
yeah.
it's just interesting, the psyche of a fighter. I want to ask you a little bit about your background. So, how did you get into Muay Thai?
It was pretty random and pretty unexciting. Just watching random clips of fights. I was always, I guess as a kid, like most boys, right? Kids fist fight a lot, and everyone thinks they're tough. And there's a certain point in my life when I probably realized that I wasn't tough at all, and after getting beat up a few times, and then watching like UFC and seeing I think it was Anderson Silva. He did like that, like this downward elbow where you miss, and then you do like a uppercut almost behind you to your side, and he knocked the dude out with that. And I was like, oh wow, what was that? And the announcer says that was what a great Muay Thai move by Anderson Silva.
Right.
So that was probably my first time that I had heard what that was, and started watching the videos online. I was like, oh, this is really cool. And someone from Y Crew, I think it was my old coach Nick Drummond, was at he was at BU when I was a student there, and they were like handing out flyers, and that was it. Showed up one day and I was stuck, couldn't leave.
That's so funny.
7 years.
It's so funny to me because there's so many people. Anderson Silva is responsible for so many people getting into Muay Thai here in the States. It's funny.
Yeah, but which is funny because now that like I know some Muay Thai, I barely even remember his name when it comes to Muay Thai. Like it's irrelevant to Muay Thai. It's just the fanciest Muay Thai that you'd see in his weight division in the UFC, but it's not even the best Muay Thai in the UFC. But at the time, oh man, that was exciting to see, and you wanted to know what it was, and he does do it well.
Yeah. But once you start going out there and looking at some of the classic guys, the Diesel Noise of the world, or even some of the guys that did, the K1, like a Giorgio Petrosian or those guys, complete different level. So,
right.
But he's
right.
But I still find so many people still tell me that Anderson Silva was their introduction. So it's always interesting to sort of hear that, So then,
I guess I'm not surprised I'm not alone.
No, you're not. No, I can't tell you how many people tell me that. I also think it's sort of a generational thing. Because I remember I'm probably a little older, so I remember K1 and I remember Buakaw, and that was sort of, even though that was obviously kickboxing rules, that was my my introduction to sort of my gateway into Muay Thai. So it's generational. I think if you're a little slightly bit older, it was Buakaw. Otherwise, if you're sort of that UFC generation, it was totally Anderson Silva. So it's so funny.
Well, actually, Buakaw was my first. When I looked up Muay Thai, it was probably, I remember seeing his videos and like watching all of his fights. Felt like back to back to back instead of studying, which is probably why I did so wonderful in college. But after I looked up Muay Thai, like after seeing, hearing Anderson Silva does Muay Thai, that's what that move was, and then looking it up, I think I remember it being Buakaw, who was like the guy I just watched over and over and over again. And yeah, I didn't even realize for the longest time that those fights weren't Muay Thai fights. It was only probably like a year later that I was like, oh, he's not even doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's still impressive.
Yeah, no, he was so good they had to change the rules. I mean, they basically got rid of the clinch altogether.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so funny how that works out. How long have you been fighting now?
I think my first fight was in 2011, so what's that, 6 years?
Oh yeah, so you're definitely a veteran by now. So I need to ask you about this because you have what I think may be one of the coolest nicknames I've ever heard. So your nickname is Maccabee, taking it all biblical. Could you tell us a little bit how you got that nickname?
So I mentioned how I talked to my mom after all my fights, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just fought a dude named Greg Rowe, who's now gone pro.
Yep.
And he is nasty. If of all the people that I've watched live on the East Coast, I mean Kevin Ross being the exception, and like a few of the Thai guys that I've seen that have popped up at Lion Fight. of like the young locals. I think Greg Rowe's just a wild talent, and he's actually the fighter I mentioned who, when I fought him, I won, but I won. It was an amateur fight, and I sort of just like threw nonstop because I knew if I didn't, I was going to get floored, and it went my way by decision, which was pretty wild. I remember being really surprised, and I didn't think I won. If I was one of the judges, and my coach would probably slap me for saying this during an interview, but I didn't think I won, but I did. The judges gave it to me, and that happened to be on the last day of Hanukkah, and so I called my mom after that fight, and I'm like ecstatic because, like I said, I thought I had lost. I called my mom with a bunch of my friends standing outside of the hotel. And all my friends, just out of camaraderie, just like joking around, we line up the candles on the ledge of this hotel, on the ground floor, and on like a windowsill, we're lighting them up. And I'm calling my mom, and my mom's like, "Oh, you won. You thought you were gonna lose, and you won. You're like the Maccabee on Hanukkah." And that was that. My mom gave me the name, the lady that won't come see me fight. And so, yeah, I've seen Greg Rowe a few times since, and I've sort of tried to communicate to him my, like, admiration of his style, because I've also seen him fight after that and just been like, holy shit, I would be very nervous to like, step in a ring with this dude again. And that was probably really dumb that I did. But at the same time, every fight's dumb, every fight's dangerous, every fight's fun. But that guy in particular, I really look up to him and his style. His style is unreal.
I love how candid you are about that. So Greg Rowe is a total beast. I've seen him fight a bunch of times. He took a little time in Thailand. I think he might have gotten some fights under his belt over there, and I feel that when he came back, maybe like a year or two ago, he came back even better.
Ugh.
He's had some ups and downs. I mean, I remember seeing him the Friday night fights. I remember seeing him lose a fight. I can't put my finger. I can't remember who he lost to. But he's I mean,
yeah, I think he was 11-2 when I fought him, or 11-3 when I fought him, and yeah, so he'd lost a couple, but I don't think he'd ever lost. Do you know if he lost ever by knockout? It was all pretty, like, at that time. I mean, in his amateur career, it was all really close decisions as far as I remember his losses.
Yeah, I don't remember him.
Oh no, I'm sorry. There was a fight that he lost against a guy. He got hit with a knee. I forget who it was. He got a knockout via knee. But yeah, either way, nasty fighter.
Yeah, he's a really good fighter. Has that tight guard. Just fantastic leg kicks, fast. Very good fighter. Very very good fighter. He's done pretty well as a pro. I just guys have been able to pressure him, and I feel that when guys have been able to pressure him, they've been able to beat him at times. It sounds like that's a little bit about what you did, basically, sort of beat him with volume.
Yeah. That's how it's described to me. I can't remember a second of it, and the video's pretty hazy, but it's essentially that. I guess just me throwing endlessly to try to just take away the opportunity for him to strike, because he's still the hardest I've ever been hit.
Is that right?
For sure.
Is that right? Yeah. So is that kicks? Is that punches? Is there anything particularly he hit you with?
Kicks.
Yeah.
Kicks. Yeah. Nothing I've ever felt. Nothing I've ever felt since then. That felt like that when he kicked or kneed. Jeez, there's a picture of him kneeing me and his knees like going out the other side of my body. looks like my organs are coming out of my back.
That's
and like I
awesome.
probably landed 10 knees to his one, but yeah, no, it was pretty wild. That's a fun thing to remember.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Greg's gone pro. Is that in your horizon? Are you considering going pro?
Not right now. I guess I've always wanted to, and I still want to, but I guess I do a lot of things in my life, and I have a lot of passions, and I think if I was to go pro, my level of commitment that I'd expect out of myself, I'd expect myself to be able to train 25 hours a week at least, if I was planning on going pro. And until I see the opportunity for me to do that, I won't be making that transition.
Yeah, it's also, as a pro fighter, it could be tough to get the same volume of fights, It's always easier.
Absolutely. I think you'd have to start traveling, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Unless you're able to sign with maybe Lion Fight, or something like that, or if you're, it's really tough, especially being up where you are. I think one of the great opportunities about having No Boundary up there is that you'll probably get a lot more chances to fight, and if you take the title, you'll have a lot of chances to defend your title against some pretty tough guys. So it'll be really good experience for you over the next year.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking.
Absolutely.
So let me talk a little bit about your background. Are you of Armenian descent?
Yeah, my father is from Armenia, and my mother is a Russian Jew, so I'm a little bit of a mutt.
Oh well, I'm a mutt too, so it's all good.
Cool.
I'm Puerto Rican and Cuban. Everybody else is basically the same thing, but they are different.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are not very, but they are. But so
got good food in the family then, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? I got like 5 pounds to lose now over the holiday. So do you celebrate both? Are you celebrating Christmas and Hanukkah?
Yep. So my wife is also from Scotland, so Armenians actually celebrate Christmas on January 6th, but I never really observed that tradition too much. Most people, older people from the Soviet Union, which is where my family's from, everyone in my family came over from the Soviet Union. They celebrate New Year's as if it's Christmas. And then, like pretty much an identical set of traditions, just without Jesus.
Right.
And then Hanukkah, yeah. So my mom's super religious, and so as a kid we grew up always lighting the candles and doing all that. It's actually a relatively irrelevant Jewish holiday, which is I think it's just like blown up to be a big holiday because it needs to compete for Jewish kids. Jewish parents are trying to keep their kids interested.
Yeah.
In a time when everyone's partying like hardcore. Because Christmas is a fun holiday, and Hanukkah's cool, but it's not that level of importance or excitement. It's just been Americanized or Westernized to be more relevant. But yeah, we celebrate. So we had a menorah lit in my window while we were opening Christmas presents under the tree. Which is awesome. I feel like I'm hoarding holidays.
No, that's
only
that's
problem
awesome.
with all the good food. The moderation that we had to have. This holiday season was a little more than I'm used to.
So how do you do that? Do you bring your own like Tupperware? Do you?
No, I just ate healthy and ran more miles.
There we go. Because I know it's one thing that's going to piss off your mom is not eating.
Yeah, exactly. But more actually. So the Christmas dinner was what my wife cooked. Luckily, there was a roast chicken and a roast beef, and it's just like, well, I'll just load up on protein and. Obviously can't go totally crazy, but it was alright. I got to enjoy my holiday.
Awesome. How much weight do you cut?
I walk around at like 160, so this time it's gonna be 15 pounds total, but I'm already pretty much where I need to be to cut down for water weight. So I'm like riding that mark that's comfortable for me. I don't like to do huge cuts. I did one, and I went down to 140 once, cutting down from like. Walking around at 53, getting down to 48 the day before, and then cutting that 8 pounds of water. That was for line. Performance was lethargic.
Yeah, a lot of guys say
that again.
Yeah, a lot of guys say that. I spoke a few weeks ago. I spoke to Gabriel Varga, he was a former champ for Glory, and he's a tall dude. He's like 6 foot, I think, and he cuts down to the 140s. And, he was telling me how this last cut, you reach a certain age where it starts getting really hard to do that. And he was having a lot of issues with muscle cramping and just sort of loss of strength. The body doesn't want to give up that much water and get down that low. So I think...
Yeah. You start to eat away muscles at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's counterproductive at some point, I think people tend to go overboard with that, so it's good. It's good too. I mean, every time I've seen you fight, you look pretty lean. You look like a guy who probably stays lean most of the year round anyway, right?
Yeah, it helps to teach at the gym because I always train with my class. I very rarely teach from like a overseer's perspective, and I'm usually trying to beat everyone in the class at whatever we're doing, and that definitely helps. So like just have that steady. I have to be there those days every week, and yeah, keeps the weight off.
Yeah,
keeps me fit enough to make the transition to a flight camp without it being catastrophic.
So you teach, and I think you also do seminars Is that right?
Yeah, I've only done one or two, and I've helped with my crew Mark Clem when he's done a couple. But it mostly just teaching, yeah.
Is that you find that teaching is improved your game?
Yeah, absolutely. But it definitely depends on the students as well. Like if I have a student that I'm on the same wavelength with, it doesn't mean that they have to be particularly good. But if they're sort of asking questions that are in the same vein of my train of thought, not asking the questions that I've prepared answers to, but asking questions that are sort of like, how do I put this? They are asking what I would ask if I had the time to sit and think about it from a student's perspective, and so it helps me to look deeper into why I do the things I do, or why fighters do the things they do, or why we shouldn't do what we do, and so if you have a good student who's, first of all, I'm extremely impatient, which is probably a bad quality for a Muay Thai teacher, but my impatience doesn't stem from people not learning. It stems from laziness. So if I get flustered by a student's laziness, then that ruins the teaching experience for me slightly. And so you'll notice if you walk into my gym, I've sort of filtered out. There's most of the people there are there to work hard, and with them I can usually enjoy myself and learn and progress a little better than if I have to focus. If I have to tell you to do 20 push-ups and I see that you did 5 and stood up before the strongest student in class, it does vibe me the wrong way. So let me rephrase my answer then. It can be really helpful, and it can also be wearing if you're not teaching in the environment that you want to be teaching.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. So how often do you get to train? I know that you're balancing a job. You got a kid, another one on the way. When you're not getting ready for a fight, how often are you able to get into the gym and train?
When I'm not getting ready for a fight, it's probably 4 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week, which isn't a whole ton, but usually each session's like 3 hours.
That's pretty good.
So it's not terrible. But then when fight camps start, obviously I'm trying to give myself 1 day rest a week, 2 a days when I get the chance to, at least running if I don't get the chance for 2 a day.
So I've got to go back.
Towards the end.
I got to go back because I got to ask you about the Armenian thing, because I mean, what is it? I appreciate small countries that for some reason seem to have 1,000,001 fighters. And
yeah,
there's this huge fight tradition, right? I mean, Gokor from back in the day to Petrosian.
Yeah, I met that dude. He's a cool guy.
Did you really meet Gokor? That's awesome.
Yeah, I went to his gym in LA. Very friendly dude. Go ahead though. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So no, what I was gonna say. So was any of that sort of fight tradition instilled in you by your dad, or just serendipity that you ended up getting into fighting?
I'd say it's a mix of the two. My pops was never a fighter, nor was he. He never okay, let me change that too. He was never a fighter physically. He never did martial arts or anything, but he's a warrior of his own sorts, and a big influence on me when it comes to the idea of not quitting and beating your opponent. And maybe my competitiveness comes from that as well. The way my dad is, just a very hard dude to beat at anything. That's probably a cultural trait of many Armenians, but he embodies it to me. Obviously, he's my father, so I've seen it more in him than others. And the culture in Armenia, when I've gone to visit, I mean, the amount of the willingness of people to fist fight, first of all, is pretty surprising. But then also in the gyms there, it's really hardcore. I actually ended up going to a Muay Thai gym there for a little while, and it was cool. It was sort of like a McDojo type place. It was good, but it was a little bit like plasticky. And then I ended up stumbling into a karate place down the street, and whoa, the way these 16-year-old kid doing 6 hours a day training during the school year.
Jesus.
This kid knocked me out with an axe kick, of all things, which we laugh and make fun of karate and taekwondo in the Muay Thai community. You hear a lot about it. people sort of talking smack. I never do anymore. You know, that was probably 2 years into me doing Muay Thai, being like, ha karate. Nah, like if you train hard and you're a fighter, like you figure out how to do certain things, and I think that the commitment to fighting there is real. So whatever that is, what it leads to the Gokors and the Giorgios, like it's a real thing. You know, they are a very competitive society and a very tough one.
Yeah, no, I appreciate, you know, like I said, I'm half Puerto Rican, half Cuban, and boxing, you know, is a huge tradition over there. You know, so I grew up with my dad watching fights. He wasn't a fighter, but it was he got me into boxing, and from there, you know, forget it. I got into all sorts of stuff.
Cool.
But you know,
you got some fights too?
Oh God, man, I'm an old man. I've trained for 10 years, but I've never fought. I've been dying to do it, but my wife is she won't let me do it. But this year, man, this is gonna be the year. I'm gonna at least get a smoker in this year.
Oh, sick, man! I hope I get to see that. Maybe I'll interview you for the smoker.
Yeah, man, we'll do it. Well, I'm gonna be up there. I'm gonna be watching you fight, man. I'm not gonna miss it. I'm pretty excited. I think it's gonna be a fun card, and I'm just glad they finally got Muay Thai up there, man. I can't believe it took this long.
Me too. I'm really excited about that, especially in Mass, and it's sanctioned, and it's all legit, and it's not like these weird underground things in Rhode Island or you know, like weird. I mean, those are always cool too. That was a good part of the Muay Thai scene here was the ghetto-ness of it. But I'm sort of excited to see what it's going to produce now that it's a little bit more legit.
Yeah, I think it's better this way. You know, also the last thing you want to hear is a story coming out about somebody getting hurt in some unsanctioned fight. You know, and then all of a sudden it's sort of people don't want to sanction Muay Thai fights. It becomes taboo. Exactly. You don't want that to happen. It should be sanctioned. No. You know, it should be safe. And this is going to be, you guys are going to be allowed to throw elbows, right?
Yeah, we are, which is cool. I'm excited about that. I think makes it much closer to real Muay Thai. Obviously, the one thing that's missing is the knees to the face. But I think me and Phil are going to ride that one out. You know, we're okay with where we're at. I think we'll both have a lot of fun throwing elbows and kneeing each other in the body instead of knees to the face.
I think it's going to be absolutely awesome. It's a great fight to headline the night, man. You know, and I'll buy you a beer when it's all said and done.
Hell yeah, I look forward to that. I'm going to try to remember to hold you to it, but I will be probably thoroughly roughed up. I think me and Phil are going to have a party in there, so we'll see. You might have to come find me.
Dude, if I've got to send it to you via FedEx, I'm going to get you a beer, one way or another.
Cool. Hey, you got this recorded, right? This is on the record.
This is legally binding.
All right, cool. All
right, brother.
Hey, can I just shout one more? Can I shout one more thing out? There's a fight that night. My teammate Brendan Sweeney's fighting my former teammate Sidney Kang, they're both awesome dudes, and they're really good fighters. Their technique is nasty, and if I had to say to just like a fight to look out for that night, to just watch some fireworks, that's going to be a banger. That's going to be a absolute banger because those dudes know each other. And that's going to spell some wonderful fight.
Awesome. Well, we're going to be there taking pictures, so we'll have pictures up on the website after the event. So, you know, we'll catch all the action. I don't think there's going to be any video, but, you know, maybe in the future we'll get some video going. And I hope so. I think it's going to be absolutely awesome, man. Listen, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I know things are crazy being a dad with the holidays and with the fights going, but I really appreciate it.
It was nice talking to you, Alfredo. Thank you for calling, man.
All right, brother. Take care.